If you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis,
The president had every right to ask for their resignation. Other administrations have done the same thing.
The president does have that prerogative.
There's a thing called Google. Type in Janet Reno and U.S. attorneys. Type in Eric Holder and U.S. attorneys. Folks, we know this has happened before, and yet the media is up in arms.
I believe we can get 51 votes out of the Senate. And if we don't act, the system's going to collapse.
It is an absolute disaster. It is a disgrace.
The president's second executive order on immigration is about to take effect, but a new legal challenge could stop it.
The Northeast bracing for a monster storm that could bury some under 2 feet of snow.
If you want pizza during March Madness,
you need these. They're called the Pie Tops. All you've got to do is push that button right there when you're hungry, and you will actually order a pizza. You just squeeze that. Now watch the ad. I'm going to confirm the order.
Can you get pizza this hour?
Yeah.
Good.
You can with your shoes, Brian.
Oh, okay.
All right, order placed. Okay, they're going to be here in a half an hour. We ordered the pizza 25 minutes ago. Somewhere in New York City, a man in a Pizza Hut uniform is racing across Midtown to bring us a pepperoni lover's big pie.
But at this hour, do you think it could be a private contractor? Because is it hard to get in uniform at this hour?
It is hard to get a pizza this hour, so occasionally we will bring in food. Last week we tried to order pizza because it was Staff Appreciation Day. I could not find a pizza place on Seamless, which is this food ordering service here in New York. I could not find a pizza place that was open. I'm like, this is the city that doesn't sleep. So I am so glad you have the tennis shoes.
I know. It's called the Pie Top. You're going to see the pizza.
The shoe. Where's the shoe?
Right. Instead of the high top,
we
it's
have put
called
it
the
over
Pie
there
Top.
just so that the crew wouldn't order a bunch of pie.
I think you should wear them for the rest of the show, too, Brian.
All right.
Just saying.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about this. Friday night, the Attorney General for the United States, Jeff Sessions, fired all of the remaining U.S. attorneys across the country. I say all of the remaining.
He didn't really fire. He asked for resignations. 46 resignations.
Ultimately, they got rid of all of them. I said there are only 46 left. That's because out of the close to 100, half of them already knew with the new administration, you know what, our time is limited. Let's find new jobs. Right. So there were only about 50 left. And apparently, Brett Barrera, the U.S. Attorney for Southern District of New York City, didn't want to resign and so got fired.
Yeah, so he said, well, Donald Trump already told me I can stay. So the next day, they made it clear he got a call. He was out. They tweeted out how great how appreciative he was at having his job and what he's done. Now, he's accomplished a lot. He's a high-profile guy. Remember, Rudy Giuliani really got his name that way. Remember, Governor Chris Christie made his name as a U.S. attorney over in New Jersey. So a lot of people think he's going into politics. Bottom line, he didn't want to back down because he's in the middle of multiple investigations, one on our terrible mayor, Mayor de Blasio. The other one, he got rid of Sheldon Silver, a Democrat who's as corrupt as the day is long, and the Republican, too. We put them both in jail. One's heading to jail, the other one's going to jail. So they pointed out his successes, but bottom line is he's a Democrat. He worked for Senator Schumer, and he also donated to President Obama. So that makes, if you're looking to set up loyalists, and you've been stabbed in the back already by multiple people in the previous administration, as you go to take over, it's only logical that the President of the United States drains the swamp.
If you watch the mainstream media, they're all saying, you know, this was done so abruptly. Well, guess what? Every other administration has done this too. They've all wiped out whoever is supporting them because you have your little family and you people that work for you to be loyal. It makes sense, right? You know when you're getting one of these positions that you're probably going to lose the job if someone from the opposing party is elected. Right. Bill Clinton, he let go of 90 individuals, 90 people, including Jeff Sessions. And then this guy, the prep guy, he also has said, you know, if you watch mainstream media, I was watching it this morning, they're all saying, but the president promised him he wasn't going to lose his job. He's saying this, the Prek guy, president hasn't said that. The Prek guy says back in November, I can't remember his last name. Okay. Back in November, I was at Trump Tower. I was meeting with him. He said that I could keep my job for the time being. Well, guess what? He did. You know, he kept it for a few months. 5 months.
Sure. So the hypocrisy is crazy because Janet Reno, Eric Holder, they both did exactly the same thing. Elizabeth Warren tweeted out weeks ago, Donald Trump promised to keep Brett Barrera as the prosecutor in Manhattan. Yesterday, he was fired. Why? And the media has said, you know, they're not looking at the hypocrisy. They're just trying to damage Donald Trump as he's doing something crazy that's never been done before, even though it's been done before. Watch.
Breaking news surrounding a sudden order for 46 U.S. attorneys to resign. The abruptness makes this stand out.
The abrupt order on a Friday afternoon after promises were apparently given amidst everything else that's going on at the Trump Justice Department.
It's very unusual. I can't ever remember seeing a case like this.
We had David Brody on from Christian Broadcasting. He had this observation. Watch this.
A quick Google search, and there's a thing called Google. Type in Janet Reno and U.S. attorneys. Type in Eric Holder and U.S. attorneys. Folks, we know this has happened before, and yet the media is up in arms. Look, I think there's a larger narrative here, and that is that the media looking for anything to, in essence, try and, quote, get Donald Trump. It's been a game of gotcha since the very beginning.
Okay, so he said Google. What happened in 1993 with Janet Reno? We did. We came up with this coverage. Here's CNN.
Janet Reno fired every holdover Republican U.S. attorney all across the country.
I have asked for their resignations at the request of the president.
All 93 U.S. attorneys. A one-day clean sweep.
Well, that was then. It sounds like they were playing this on a Victrola, and we're watching on Kinescope. That was 1993. Why does it sound so bad? All right,
it's YouTube.
This happens every administration, so it's not a news story. It's not something new and big.
The hypocrisy. Janet Reno did it. Eric Holder did it. Jeff Sessions did it. And yet, when you look at the coverage, the hypocrisy is startling.
Of course, President Trump doesn't want him working in his administration because if you look at who this guy is, he donated to Obama's inauguration, rumored to replace Eric Holder, rumored as the AG in Hillary Clinton's administration, or was up for the job. protege of Chuck Schumer, went after the Bush administration.
But I would say this. He also, as I mentioned before, he's trying to fix New York. He went after Democrats. He got rid of eight corrupt officials around Governor Cuomo, and who knows where that investigation was heading. And the New York Post, which I believe works here, because I see a lot of people with ink-stained hands on the 5th floor, they said, we recommend to President Trump that he stick around. Regardless, he decided to let go of all. Sure.
Well, you know, the president is the one who makes that decision. And I'm not saying that this guy's a good guy or a bad guy or he didn't do this or didn't do that. The thing is, he's a Democrat. So do you expect Donald Trump to keep him on?
Well,
it's
I think
never happened before.
Donald Trump must have seen this as an all or nothing, asked for the resignations of everybody. And at least in his case, apparently, he said, I'm not going to quit. And so they wound up firing him. Somebody who knows all about him is Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh wound up being prosecuted by this guy. So we're going to talk to him about what happened to the U.S. Attorney for New York coming up shortly.
So let's talk about, let's talk about what's happening. The CBO is likely to score the plan put forward towards by Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House. Now, they got their hands full passing it through the House, and they're certainly going to have a challenge as they mark it up in the Senate. However, the CBO coming out with that score is going to be significant. But the Republicans are bracing everyone to say, listen, when it comes to coverage and when it comes to prices, they were way off on Obamacare, so don't look at them as the gospel, although the person heading up the CBO was put there by President Bush 43. Here's Bernie Sanders, because he likes talking.
It is an absolute disaster. It is a disgrace. And by the way, this really has nothing to do with health care. What this has everything to do with is a massive shift of wealth from working people and middle-income people to the very richest people in this country. In my view, and what the American people want is an improvement on Obamacare, not the decimation of Obamacare, and so many people off of health insurance and raising premiums substantially.
All right, well, that socialist plan didn't work. It was way too expensive. People were waiting a long time to get into their doctors. They couldn't keep their doctors. It was collapsing. Country couldn't afford it.
So when you talk about a CBO and the score, I'm not saying these people there aren't great people working very hard for very little money. That seems to be the fact. However, as when you talk about with the CBO scoring things, remember how they got it wrong? Maybe it wasn't their fault. Jonathan Gruber made it clear back in 2009 that they put this thing together to throw off the CBO. Listen.
Lack of transparency is a huge political advantage. And basically, call it the stupidity of the American voter or whatever. But basically, that was really, really critical to getting the thing to pass.
So they tried to keep as many details from the CBO as possible, and ultimately the CBO, Congressional Budget Office, estimated 8 million more Americans would wind up on Obamacare than did, which just goes to show while they put their heart into it, sometimes they get it really wrong.
After it all passed, then that soundbite comes out and he says, don't be transparent. The American people are stupid. Don't call them taxes, call them mandates, and it will pass with the CBO.
And he was the architect.
Yeah, and this is the quote. If CBO scored the mandate as taxes, which, by the way, it was, Bill would have died. So they changed it, made it a mandate. So then the CBO
Why didn't the
scored it.
CBO pick up on that? That's my question.
Because the administration told him it wasn't a tax. But then John Roberts at the U.S. Supreme Court, the Chief Justice, said it was a tax and saved it.
All right.
But that's history.
All right.
And now we're moving on to the new and improved American Health Care Act.
Right. Now it's up to Republicans to see if they can agree with Republicans. Hey, Heather.
Hello.
Good morning.
Did you hear there's a storm headed our way?
Big one.
We've heard it,
Pretty big one. So we're going to talk about that right now. The extreme weather that we've been discussing all morning, the Northeast bracing for a blizzard as millions of Americans prepare for plunging temperatures, fierce wind gusts, and up to 2 feet of snow. Some brand new video. This is out of Chicago showing slick roads, low visibility. Right now, the storm is pushing through the Midwest before merging with another system off the East Coast. Well, protests erupting in Ferguson, Missouri overnight. Look at this video. It's from this Michael Brown documentary suggesting that he did not rob a convenience store. Instead, the filmmaker behind Stranger Fruit claims that the surveillance video shows Brown was involved in a drug deal with employees. But a lawyer for the market says that it was edited and he will release the full version today. Brown was shot and killed by a white police officer back in 2014, sparking days of protest in Ferguson. And just hours from now, the man arrested for jumping the White House fence was will face a federal judge. 26-year-old Jonathan Tran coming within feet of actually getting inside before he was finally stopped Friday night. The Secret Service says that he was armed with mace and had a letter for the president. Tran telling them that he was a friend and that he had an appointment. He faces up to 10 years in prison if convicted. And environmental activists leaving their mark on one of President Trump's golf courses. Look at what they did. The brazen group of vandals breaking into the $250 million Trump National Golf Course in California, carving 6-foot-tall letters into the fifth green with the message, you can't see it right now, but it said, "No more tigers, no more woods." The disgusting damage now covered with tarps. The LA County Sheriff is investigating, so we'll keep you updated on that one, too.
What did that mean? No more tigers, no more woods.
I don't even know what it means.
Well, it's a play off Tiger Woods and environmental, his environmental policies, Tiger and Woods, right? That's what I'm guessing.
I don't have any idea what it means.
I was hoping you knew.
Yeah, because I read that too and I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, vandalism.
Okay.
Meanwhile, how are people changing their gender on their birth certificate without getting surgery? The loophole that's allowing them to do that coming up.
Make an X in a different box, maybe? Plus, Obamacare wiretapping and the U.S. Attorney firings. We're covering the big stories with Kellyanne Conway when she joins us on the couch that curves straight ahead.
Fox News Channel on Sirius XM. Your favorite shows on Channel 114. Plus every story every 15 minutes. Fox News headlines 24/7. Channel 115.
It is my judgment. Dinesh D'Souza was sentenced on Tuesday to spend 8 months in a confinement center.
It all began when the Obama administration tried to shut me up.
Remember when filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza was convicted of election fraud? Well, it was ousted U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara who spearheaded Mr. D'Souza's prosecution.
So it wasn't a surprise when D'Souza tweeted simply, "Good riddance" to the outgoing prosecutor.
All right, here to tell his side of the story and new details on the case is filmmaker and convicted felon Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh, must be a great day for you. I can imagine the feeling if someone put me in jail for 8 months and all of a sudden they were now ousted. However, you now can tell us something that you were never able to say before about your